How many times have you woken up and been like, I need a cup of coffee or any dose of caffeine just to have the will to live? That became me, and that is why I'm going to quit caffeine coffee for 7 days. Let's see how this goes. Day 1 of quitting coffee. I've become a very big caffeine addict, and I realized that quitting coffee, even just for like 1 to 2 days, I'd get withdrawals and headaches. So this was going to be a very, very tough challenge, specifically for me. But I really wanted to do it for a couple of reasons. I was having some anxiety, trouble sleeping. I could feel my heart beating in my chest. The money spent on all this coffee wasn't great. So what does that mean? I wasn't feeling good, I wasn't focused, and I just wasn't able to operate in life like I really wanted to. These were the no coffee caffeine rules as follows. Lion's mane and Rhodiola rosea were allowed. I have noticed with lion's mane and Rhodiola, I was still able to get a little bit of focus and a little bit of a mental boost in, but it wasn't caffeine, it wasn't stimulating, and I was still able to fall asleep. Decaf was approved, although I did discover later on that decaf does have a little bit of caffeine. Drinking soda, eating chocolate, having coffee all have caffeine, so those were not allowed. I gotta say day 1 is actually relatively easy. It's just the habit part of like, oh, I wake up, I grab a cup of coffee, maybe swap it up for some non-caffeine tea or something like that. But the overall sensations, the energy levels, I felt pretty steady throughout the day, and I had no caffeine withdrawals, I had no headaches. Day 2 is where the challenge began. I started to have headaches, I felt extremely sluggish and mental fatigue and brain fog. All I could think about was coffee. I was like, I just want to buy another cold brew, but that was the last thing I could buy. And so I caved and I went to the store and I bought decaf. This way I still got to have the experience of going to a coffee shop, I got to have the experience of spending my money unnecessarily, and I got to have the experience of sitting down in the coffee shop, getting a nice coffee, and ideally journaling on my iPad. And little did I know that decaf coffee actually has a little bit of caffeine in it. But for the most part, after the first 3 days, I was able to kind of focus and get my work done, and I was surprised. I was like, I can operate without coffee? This is interesting. Is it ironic that I'm excessively intaking caffeine while I share my story of quitting caffeine? Now, day 4 to 6 were relatively easy. I think my body had essentially eliminated all the caffeine. I felt great, sustained energy throughout the day. I was still able to focus. I was able to talk with friends. The fatigue and the tiredness that I had the first 3 days were absolutely gone. But I do know there are some benefits to drinking caffeine that I wasn't incorporating to my life. So that's why I brought it back. What are those benefits? Caffeine is America's most popular drug. America is also the hardest working country in the world. And I think drinking caffeine can allow you to be more productive, more focused, in the right amount of doses. And Daddy Huberman has also talked about how caffeine can also help with fat loss, dopamine increase, which is the motivation molecule. It'll provide you energy and keep you more focused. But at what doses is it a bit excessive? He talks about 100 to 400 milligrams of caffeine. Then I realized I'm not measuring my caffeine intake, right? How much caffeine is in this Celsius? 200 milligrams. That's about half of the recommended dose by the FDA. The FDA recommends a maximum of 400 milligrams. A typical coffee can have anywhere from 70 to 200 milligrams of caffeine. Cold brew has higher amounts, whereas like hot coffee and dark coffee will have lower amounts. And then these energy drinks are just absurd. Some can have 400, 300 milligrams of caffeine in just one drink. And that's where I began to understand how much caffeine am I actually intaking on a daily basis. Can I make sure I'm staying consistent with the dosage amount and I'm not adapting to the caffeine and drinking more and more every other day? And 2, my sleep was falling apart because of excessive caffeine. And since I was starting to sleep well, I would fall asleep at 10 p.m. real easily. When I started to quit caffeine, I was like, how can I make sure not to abuse this amazing drug? So I created some rules. 200 milligrams of caffeine is my limit. No caffeine after 2 p.m. Do I break these rules? Sometimes. As long as I get it 80 to 90% right most of the time, I'm happy with that. And those are the main reasons I allowed myself to reintroduce caffeine into my life. One new thing I do want to do is caffeine cycling. So 1 day a week, no caffeine, no coffee, just disconnect and allow my body to reset. Have I gotten there yet? Nah. I realize there are a lot of great alternatives too, right? If I don't want to just drink caffeine all the time, I can get green tea. Yerba mate is also really good. Non-stim pre-workout, so I can still get a good feeling for my workouts but not have to have stimulation, especially if it's right before bed. I love this stuff, Beetle Eat. Absolutely nixing sodas and having chocolate every once in a while. Mud water is another one. I drank some mud water for a couple days. I really liked it. There's a lot of nootropics and mushrooms in there that did help with focus, but it doesn't hit as strong as caffeine does. So it's all about balance in your usage of these chemicals. Now days 6 to 8, what happened? You know, I felt free. Like I felt like caffeine wasn't controlling me. I wasn't craving it, but I did have this one issue where I just could not stop thinking about caffeine. All I wanted was a cold brew every single day. I felt good. Right? The drawbacks. There were some drawbacks to caffeine that I was trying to avoid, and they absolutely went away. These drawbacks are like crashes, increased blood sugar spikes, spending too much money, increased productivity. Wait, we want increased productivity. Increased heart rate, increased blood pressure, destroyed sleep quality, and even stomach acid getting all messed up. That's when I drink cold brew, by the way. So cold brew has less acidity than iced coffee and other coffees. So just a side note. So I think those 7-day caffeine fast helped me kind of clean up my adenosine receptors a little bit. I feel good. I'm back on the coffee grind, which is an issue, but I am following my rules of limiting my caffeine usage and just taking overall slight control. So now I want you to try it. Go watch my video here on where I tried mud water for 7 days. Peace.